Hey everyone, this week I played Toedscool and Ogerpon in a tournament. I used the same list as the video I released earlier this week, so if you haven't seen that, definitely check that out. We sadly only went 1-2, but we did start off with a loss against Goldango, and then our second round was a win against Roaring Moon, and then third round we sadly got knocked out by a auto loss, which was the Crustal deck. Now, and if you don't know how this deck works and what it revolves around, it's all about the Toedscruel EX with Colony Rush doing 80 damage and then 40 more for each of your bench Pokemon that have a grass, and you're accelerating grass onto your bench using Teal Mask Ogerpon, with its Teal Dance being able to put a grass from your hand down onto it once per turn for free, and drawing you a card in the process. Overall, the deck was really fun to play, and I did notice a couple little kinks in it and things that I would change. The big change that I would make is I would take out one Area 0 Underdepths and throw in a Night Stretcher solely for the Goldango matchup. Being able to get back your baby Toedscruel, which is massively important in that matchup, is going to be something that we really need to do, especially with how popular Goldango is. Other than that, I am planning on trying out a couple different Pokemon to try to help us with the Crustal matchup, but I don't know exactly how well we can really deal with that matchup. I think it's going to stay an auto loss. Now, and I do have for you guys, as always, two games. It will be the Goldango game and the Roaring Moon. That way then I can show you guys exactly what it looks like from both angles. And before we get into the games, please hit that like and subscribe for more. I post every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. So without further ado, we'll get on to the first game. Alright, so game number one, we see that we are going first. This is going to be the Goldango matchup. So our hand is pretty bad right now, so we're just getting double Ogerpon down, trying to see if we can draw into some other good cards here. And then this Nest Ball, we get a third Ogerpon, but here I think I probably should have just grabbed one of the Toedscool instead, so that way the next turn we can at least go into this other Toedscool EX, and that's going to be a little bit harder for them to knock out. It would take them 6 energy when they can start attacking. And this Iron Leaves we don't really need. We also have the energy switch, so we would be able to get a attack off next turn. We're still able to get an attack off next turn anyway, because we can just make one of the Ogerpon attack, but it would be a much heavier hit if it was the Toedscruel instead. So here they get their board entirely set up. So we do top deck another energy, so we're just drawing. We keep top decking energy, which sometimes it can be a hindrance. And then here, bug catching set, we see some good things. We see double Toedscool and a Budew. And if I would have done the Nest Ball play, then I would have been able to grab the Budew off of there and turn them off of being able to use their trainers for one more turn. And that probably would have given us a decent chance of winning. Instead, we just have to set up our board like this. We do have another bug catching set, but we know that we're not going to be able to get a Budew. The Budew play is going to be far too late at this point. And here they're just going into double Goldango. They search out a little bit more, and then they do have the Arven, which gets them into their ace spec to be able to get them all of their energy that they need into their hand. One of the good things about having double Toedscool on the field, though, is that if we can find the baby Toedscool, we can at least stop them from getting the energy back into their hand. They are going to have to use 5 energy in order to knock out our Ogerpon, and then they also had to manually attach one of the metal, so that's 6 energy down, and their list is running exactly 10 energy. So they only have 4 energy left that they could really work with, unless they can get rid of that Toedscool. It's also the reason why we really want to put in a Night Stretcher. So here with the bug catching set, we find the Budew again, and we find another Toedscool, but we're just going to grab this Toedscool so we have it in case we need it. We're going to be able to draw off of that energy real quick. And then here, we're just going to grab the baby Toedscruel off of the Ultra Ball. I was going to try to grab a Fez, but it looks like we prized it. So here we at least get to be able to put up a decent bit for a wall. The other bad thing about this is that they do have to just find a boss or some sort of gust effect, and they'll be able to get back into the game, just getting rid of our baby Toedscool, and at that point we don't really have a way of doing anything. We also made a mistake of not benching this other Toedscool. That way then if we get a super rod off of the top, we could at least be able to put the baby Toedscool back into the deck and be able to get it that way as well. So there's quite a few mistakes here. That's why I really wanted to show this video, to actually showcase, like, I'm still learning with this deck as well. It's a very simple deck, but there's a lot of things that you can mess up with it, and there's a lot of different things in the meta that you really have to be watching out for. So here they're just playing through more. They're trying to thin their deck as much as they possibly can to be able to try to find a boss as soon as possible. Here they just pass it back. We do top deck a energy. I wish that at some point we would top deck a supporter. That would be nice. Being able to draw 7 would be great. Iono would be even better, to be able to put their hand back on the bottom of their deck and put them down to 4. But here they do have the boss. They boss up the Toedscool. Now they're going to be able to knock it out because they have just enough energy left in hand to do so. And we have no way of getting a Toedscool back on the field because we still haven't benched the Toedscool that we had in our hand. And that is pretty much going to seal the nail in the coffin for game. So overall, we did have some bad draws. We were top decking into nothing for quite a while, but this game could have been a lot different if we would have played our early turns a little bit better. So here they do the superior energy retrieval. They're going to be able to get all of their energy back from their discard. Now they will be able to easily get a knockout on this Ogerpon. We also could have just thrown up the Toedscool, and that would have taken them 6 energy, but they have another superior energy retrieval, so it doesn't really matter. They're just getting all of their energy back from the discard real quick, and they'll be able to get a knockout this turn, and then all they have to do is just get one more knockout, which if they find another boss or something, they can just knock out the Toedscool on the bench, which they're just going to do that this turn. That way then whatever we throw up, they can easily just one-shot. They have all the energy in hand. So we have to top deck an Iono here in order to have a chance. And even then, it's kind of iffy. And we top deck a Budew. So that is pretty much game, and I'm just going to concede. Alright, so game number 2 that I'm going to show for you guys is actually the Roaring Moon. So, as you can see, our hand is pretty bad here too. We kind of were bricking for a while today. Even when I was doing some practice runs before the tournament, my hands weren't looking very good, but I still wanted to play this deck in the tournament because I wanted to give it some more time to actually like get better with it. And here I'm thinking about using the research, but I see that they have the Roaring Moon in the back, and I don't really want to get rid of my hand right now. So here they do try to gust up our Toedscool, which is pretty smart by them, because if they can get rid of that, then we can't get a Toedscool EX down, which is one less attacker that they have to worry about. Here they are just doing 60 damage each turn to our Ogerpon with the poison. So we do top deck another Ogerpon, and then here we have to bite the bullet. We have to use that research. We do get our Prime Catcher, which is huge. And here we are just going to use the Ogerpon. We are going to try to draw into another energy. We got it. That's perfect. We can draw one more time, and that kind of isn't what we should have done, but we had the attack. So here we are just going to energy switch over to the Ogerpon, and we're just going to knock out right here, knock that out. So we get our first prize. It is another energy. They're just going to throw out the Brute Bonnet. We don't mind them doing more damage to this Ogerpon because of how big it is. We know that it's going to take at least another turn for them to fully set up this Roaring Moon. They hit us with the Iono, and they actually give us a decent hand right here. We have the boss, we have the grass energy that we need. We also got another Toedscool EX. They were also able to set up pretty nicely, being able to just keep up the poison damage. We top deck another energy switch, which is perfect. That's the other key to the puzzle that we were needing. We did gamble a little bit more. That is something that I gotta learn with this deck too, is not to gamble as much. Though that gambling does pay off, we are able to do 160 damage right here, which is huge because that means that we can actually boss up their Roaring Moon and do just enough damage to be able to knock it out. So here we are also benching the Fez. We're not going to bench this Toedscruel because we'd rather have a bench slot open for a third Ogerpon if we can, to try to cycle through some more cards. The two cards that we get off of our prize is a Nest Ball and a Grass, which is perfect. We also could just use this Nest Ball to get a Latias EX down to be able to get free retreat on our basics, which means the only way that they could really lock us is if they pull up the other Toedscool EX, which if we just start putting energy down on that, then that's still going to be a good attacker. Here they are just going through their deck. I don't know why they did it like that. I think they were just really wanting to see one more card, and I can see what their game plan kind of is resembling right here. They're trying to put energy up on one of their Petronts because it has a relevant attack of being able to retreat lock your opponent's active Pokemon. So what they could do is, since they bossed up this Fez, if they could get another energy down on the Petront in the back, and we aren't able to find enough energy to move this Fez, then they'd be able to lock it and then just try to get knockouts that way. It most likely means that they have prized their second copy of Roaring Moon. Otherwise, I don't know why they would do it like that. And they also bench lock themselves right here too. So here we use the Nest Ball. We were looking for a Latias, but we realized that it's prized. So luckily we do have a Grass Energy. We also got the Mew down so we can look at two more cards. And then we are just going to retreat this Fez, heal it from the poison, and then be able to knock out the Petront that they had thrown up. We get a prize. Now we're only 2 prize cards away from game. And here they throw up the Mew EX because it has free retreat. They are going to be able to draw 3 with Flip the Script from the Fez. They have a Ultra Ball here. So there's a couple different things that they could get. They actually had the other Roaring Moon in hand now. So I don't know why they did that. They should have just benched it. And then here they just use Energy Switch, and they're just trying to get their hand real low for some reason. They do throw down a new stadium. So we are going to have to get rid of a Pokemon here. So we're just going to get rid of this Fez because we don't really need it anymore. And now they are going to restart and they concede. All right, so those are the games that I have for you from the tournament that I took place in this week. As you can see, they aren't the best of games, but we can learn a lot from them. And if you guys do like this deck and these type of videos, I do post every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday, and it really does mean a lot to me if you guys hit that like and subscribe for more. So I hope to see you guys in the next video.